Welcome to Rockstar Launcher, where we feature our rockstar clients with our rockstar attorneys, and we will talk about how the intersection of law and business intersect and how our clients overcome challenges with the assistance of our lawyers. And today we are so excited to have one of our clients who needed assistance in the corporate and IP world. First, let me introduce David Wang, who is a rockstar attorney. He has expertise in real estate, corporate, mergers and acquisitions, you name it. He knows the in and out of these transactions. And so David will take it away and introduce our guest.
Hi, Josh.
Hey, David.
Good to have you here.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here.
Why don't we start off by telling us a little bit about what you're doing in business right now.
Okay. So, as you well know, I have some patents that we worked on together for many years, and we're being studied by a larger company, and they're taking a look at us for our potential use in environmental benefit to the concrete industry. We take sawdust to make it real simple, and then we just turn it into a usable aggregate for the cement industry by mimicking a process of petrification. All of it happens very rapidly. We have a few different processes, but we can move it down the line pretty quickly to meet the consumption requirements. And in that, when a tree is harvested, there's for every 2.2 pounds of wood waste, there's 1 pound of carbon dioxide that tree is captured during its life cycle. So when we put it into our cementitious mix and it goes exothermic, then it changes the properties of that. So it makes it fireproof and completely flame retardant, and encases and entombs that carbon dioxide and creates a carbon sink. So,
well, it provides insulation.
Yeah, it does. It just like a tree, it would add an insulative value, as well as there's some massive networking benefits in reference to the way it performs under the duress of tensile strength and flexural strength, massive impact resistant. We can take, firearms and shoot at it with all kinds of those things, and, all that.
And it's lighter weight than...
Substantially lighter weight, yeah. Concrete's typically around 147 pounds per cubic foot, and, our thresholds run from, I've done mixes as low as 37 pounds for specialized stuff, but they're lower compressive values. But a good solid compressive range, you start getting 3,000 PSI in the 80, 90 pound cubic foot threshold. So it's pretty impressive by concrete standards, but it's very new. And people have tried for hundreds of years to put wood into concrete, and there have been a lot of issues with it, and they weren't resolved. And I took a number of years and studied that and kind of worked through some of those issues. So it's taking the market a little longer than I had anticipated.
Well, in our patent prosecution process, we had to deal with prior art that the examiner cited from way long ago.
We were in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to read a few of those. Thank you, God, for you. I would like to say something to thank you. That would have never happened without your mind. No, I mean that. And you, David, man, I love you guys like family, and you've become more like, it's been almost a decade. We were hanging out just talking about it, and nobody thinks that an attorney is going to become their friend, because you're always in a circumstance when you need an attorney, and that's not because you have the luxury of needing a friend. You guys provided both for me.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you're a classic example of, so I represent entrepreneurs, and I've always described you as like the prototypical entrepreneur. And so you are where you're at now, but that's not where you started.
Oh, God.
So I'd like to go back a little bit to when we first met, because most of my clients are entrepreneurs. So most of them don't do the same thing through the life of my representation. So when we first met, it was about 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the 2015, 2016 timeframe.
Yeah.
What were you doing at that point?
I had just left corporate acquisitions and analytics for some hedge funds here locally. I was representing as a realtor and started purchasing real estate and trying to set up my own small capital seed and turning in the real estate market. And I, for a few reasons, ended up leaving the DFW market and went to the Lake Charles market, which turned out to not be one of my better decisions, but as my family goes, it turned out to be the best decision of my life. So it was well worth it. I have the best in-laws in the world and they live there. So like 3 houses down the street, my kid gets the dream life, and,
Yeah.
you know, it set me back a little financially, and I learned some lessons. And,
So what was the evolution to the Builderscrete? How did, as an entrepreneur, how did you evolve in that way?
so that started when I was a kid. My dad's friend had invented this block with some sawdust in it. My dad got a license to run it in the US. I worked in Pop's factory. I'm giving you the real quick version. Dad got diagnosed stage 4 cancer, lymphoma, and everything shut down. While I was in the factory, I was telling my dad, it's really unique that we put a little sawdust in this and it's working. It makes it, you know. He's like, I know, but it's the block. And I always said it was the sawdust. And so, long story short, that, you know, the real estate market kind of slowed in Lake Charles a little bit. The LNG expansion changed with some presidential changes. And so I had to pivot. And I was really always interested in Builderscrete. So I pivoted into that and then got into, for about 4 years, sitting in my garage 18 hours a day, just nonstop. Fail and fail and fail and fail and fail. And then occasionally I'd get it, you know, I'd run in and tell Leslie, hey, all the kitchen stuff I've destroyed to get here was worth it. She'd look at me and smile and roll her eyes. And in that process, you know, we started filing patents, and as we were discovering new and novel ideas, and you know, that's when I met Weiwei, and
Yeah.
our friendship was forged in that process. And then,
Right. So you are one of those inventors and with whom that I've met a few in my lifetime, but you're one of those inventors who's constantly coming up with new ideas, you know. Constantly your brain just seems to be always working. Ways to improve, ways to make it better, how to do it better, different way of packaging something. It's, you know, I had to like really chase after you to keep up with you. So we found quite a few patent applications.
Interestingly, some of the lighter weight ideas were brought up. You know, the smaller bags were recently brought up by very large, just because of the idea that we had talked about, like, how can we make this more user-friendly to women or smaller framed men? Like, I'm a stout dude, but I don't want to throw 90-pound sacks of Crete all day, especially for backyard projects. So, yeah, I've had to learn to dial that in. I think that's the upside and the downside to anyone with my disposition, my personality. Like, yeah, your brain can move like a Ferrari, but it does no good if you're driving off the road all the time. You're just stuck in your car.
So okay, dovetailing that. So
Yeah.
So what are the challenges? What are the challenges have you faced on this journey, and how's our firm helped you along the way?
Well, financially, it's been just, cannot say how difficult it has been. I mean, when I tell you there were times where we had $20 and it had to last us a week, and we were praying that we'd figure it out. It always worked out, but it was like, I will lean on my wife for that one. She's better than I deserve, flat out. Like, we figured it out. We Facebook sold. We did, you know, I flipped golf carts and cars. I detailed neighbors' cars, whatever it took, like just to hustle to be able to continue to have the next step, to be able to, okay, we can eat tomorrow. All right, I can get back to work, you know, and get on to that.
We've had so many nibbles from big
Yeah.
companies who
Yeah.
can help you, along, but
Well, they always want more than credential than we have, right? Because this is, built this in a garage, bootstrap. This is a long process, and so they're like, hey, well, you're too much risk. We want everything of your company. I'm like, hey, I don't really care. Go away. And that's just kind of, I've had to learn that maybe my mentality in that needs to give a little, and that's part of it. I've had to come to more realistic terms. I think as an inventor, one of the hardest things to do is to step back and say, this isn't a baby. This is an idea. And if I'm as good as people tell me I am, this shouldn't be my last idea. So what do we need to do to get it to the market and get it to the value to the public? Because I didn't just create it to make me feel good about my ego. I like value. As you said, I don't like inefficiency. It infuriates me that to this day, 20% of the tree goes unused. We could cut forestry by 20% just by utilizing this product in cementitious environments, because you can nail into it, screw into it, saw it like regular wood.
right.
Now, that's not the case forever because it hardens for 100 years, unlike traditional concrete, which hardens for 50. So eventually it gets to a PSI that's no longer going to allow it to accept a nail or a screw, which is great for longevity, but it makes it a little hard to hang a picture if you haven't already done it. There are ways, though. Yeah, go ahead.
So the inherent push-pull between entrepreneurs and lawyers is the entrepreneurs are always visionary and running ahead and thinking of all sorts of things.
No, it's our ego. I'll lay it out what it is. It's called a spade.
And then the lawyers are always trying to figure out how it's all put together.
Yeah, you're
and so we tend to be
sense.
yeah we
We're
tend to
operating in fantasy.
Do you feel like we hold you back, or
oh, you always feel like that? yeah you do. Like for the first few years I was like, David, and then
Come back down to earth.
yeah, and then I was like, you won't let me do anything fun. And then one day my wife was like, you realize he's protecting you. Then I start looking back and I start thinking about it if I was in the other guy's chair. Because I'm so self-centric at this point. I can't see past my own nose. I'm like, oh my gosh, David's a gift from God. David was aptly named. He fights harder for me than I fought for myself. And in that moment, you had my respect, bro. Not as a businessman. Obviously, as a businessman, you had it before. You have my respect as a man. That's a man. He didn't have to go after it like that. You're ruthless in your execution, just as ruthless as Wayless. Well, I love you guys. Like, y'all don't like inefficiency either. It just manifests differently. Yours manifests in paperwork and legal documents, and mine manifests in mathematics and sawdust. And if I get lucky, a little mud.
Well, we're a different kind of firm, right?
Yes.
So we're virtual. We are able to keep the costs down for our clients, and our billing rate compared to where we ought to be because of our experience and expertise is probably 3 times of what we're actually billing. So but we want to make legal service available to the startups and the entrepreneurs because we know that's expensive.
Well, I think you financially state that for the client for sure, but you hit on it a minute ago, and you're modern. You're catering to people like me who I live in another state, a long ways away. I've never had a problem.
Right.
It's been easy peasy. I don't have to drive into your fancy schmancy office and be pissed off because you've got gold chairs all over the place that I paid for.
Right.
That's how I think. I'm like, man, you want a Diet Coke? No, it'll cost me another $8. Brought my own Diet Coke just to prove my point.
Right. We don't have the marble floors.
No, it's practical and familial, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it works for me.
Yeah.
I'm as you know from 2 minutes on me on camera, like I'm kind of emotional, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I want to be able to deal with people who can understand that, and that doesn't feel like an imposition. And I think
So do you find it annoying when I don't go along with you on your enthusiasm?
no, at first I did, again, but it was like I in the process of being an inventor, you get an ego check, right? And then you can decide, do I want to continue being an idiot, or do I want to get with a program and humble myself a little? It goes back to like, this is David caring. See, when I understood that you were for me and you weren't all the things I had heard about attorneys and you weren't all the things that I had been told, and then you were just another guy who really cared about me, and you showed that to me with your actions, I had no reason to ever question you again. If you tell me something, it's for my own benefit. I'm a fool if I go against it.
Okay, I'm gonna
I'm
gonna use
We're
that.
gonna
It's
use
on
some
the
of that quote.
But it's true. It's true. Because I play everything back, and it's like Wei said, I sleep about 4 or 5 hours a night. My brain just doesn't stop. So I play everything back a lot, and there's no hole in your game. There's no hole in your game. If you hire David, or if you hire Wei, you're hiring the best attorneys money can buy. I'm not playing, like, because there's intrinsic value that can't be conveyed. Having people who legitimately want to get to know you enough to care about you so that they want to fight on your behalf, not just fight on your dollar's behalf, that's a game changer. And I hope you're looking at me when I'm saying this. I'm not looking at y'all, because I want the people who might be perspective to the firm to understand I get nothing out of this. There's no benefit to me. I'm telling you, the benefit to me was the relationship with these people. And now they happen to be attorneys that we work with, but they're friends first. Yeah. When the hurricane hit, y'all called me. I had family that didn't call me.
No.
It meant so much. Yeah, so I can't say enough good. Yeah, it's always going to be a wrestling match between us. And it should, because if not, I've backed off creatively, or you've backed off in your integrity with what you do. There should always be some push-pull in that.
Yeah.
Wei and I can't push-pull with her. It's just like my sister, man.
No, but
push on my big sister.
well, one of the things that I think that you do really well is explain why something is the way it is. Because in working with entrepreneurs, what I've realized is that every one of y'all think differently, and sometimes I don't understand why something is important. And you are actually very good at explaining why. So there are times where you'll say that you're going to go do something, and my natural reaction as attorney is, I'm not sure I like that idea. I think you're very good at explaining why it's important or advantageous, and help me understand that, because then I can say, okay, now I know what he's trying to do and why it's important, and then I can adapt to that. Do you feel like that's a dynamic that we've had?
100%. If you're an inventor, start with the why. It's going to irritate everybody. Thomas, you can watch this and chew me out. I know Thomas is my mentor. He's knows the corporate world incredibly well, and he's constantly on me for, hey, you're explaining too much. And he's 100% right. When I'm explaining to prospective buyers or people who are users for the patents, I get way too technical because I'm a nerd and I like to nerd out. But
And I like that.
yes, yeah.
Right.
And so when we're communicating, there's a real benefit to that. So I've had to learn where to place that, but the why is always the most important motivator for me. Like, that's, if I don't know the why, I'm not going to engage. Just won't, because what if I'm engaging to something that's evil or not good for everybody? If we don't know the entirety of the output beyond it, it's not worth putting the energy into. It could be catastrophic. Yeah. And one thing I've appreciated is you've mirrored that. Like, when you'll have to tell me something I don't like to hear, you'll give me the why behind it. And that's helped me swallow that so much better. Yeah. Swallow the pride's one thing, but to have to swallow the I've got to change and the pride, that's hard without the why. And you make that road a lot smoother for me. And when I came into this, I knew nothing about the law, like nothing. I did everything I could to avoid the law. Um,
Yeah, that's actually one of the challenges. Well, actually, it's one of the unique things the mindset you have to have in representing entrepreneurs is to really know that people like you evolve and change quickly, and come up with new ideas and think of different ways that you can move forward. And I think the lawyer has to be flexible enough to ride along with that. And yeah, my experience as having owned some of my own business, that's kind of what's helped me is to understand that mentality and not to be too rigid in how I think of your ideas and things like that. So yeah, I think it's a very delicate balance between not holding the inventor, entrepreneur back, but trying to figure out a way to help them move forward, in a prudent way.
yeah. My 10-year-old, we homeschool, so I'm big on like you got to start a business early and like get into the mechanics of that and get to making mistakes. But I was explaining that to him, and he was asking me about attorneys on the way up here, the difference,
Oh.
and he's got ideas.
All right.
And I was trying to explain the dynamics of the relationship, and I explained it like this. It's funny because it was literally this. I said, attorneys want to put steel walls on your road, and you and I need rubber bands for walls. And the right attorney will be a rubber band, not a steel wall. They're going to keep you within the guidelines of where you need to be.
Keep you on the road.
But they're going to encourage you to stay moving forward, even if it feels like you're bouncing around a little. It's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
I always feel like if I can't explain it to my 10-year-old, I don't know it. I loved Einstein for his practicality. He was, if you don't know it simply, you don't know it. That's just the truth of it. Builderscrete has been the most challenging journey of my life, but the most beautiful journey as well. It's taught me how to survive in hard times. It's taught me how to love what's important and value what's important. It's taught me how to overcome adversity. It's taught me how to be humble and humble myself and know that there's a lot of value out there beyond my opinion of things. And we get highest and best when we work together. Taught me a lot more than that, but those are some main points, and I don't think I would have got them without you guys. Just don't. I don't see how it would have happened.
Well, I want to go back a little bit more on touting the Builderscrete, the properties it has. You can cast it. You can 3D print it.
Anything you can do with concrete.
Right,
Yeah,
but
cast, dry cast.
end up with a much more superior product and with carbon sequestration, right? So you're doing something for the environment. So I, for one, would love to see it take off and get used in all kinds of projects, because I think that would make it a better world.
Me too. And it's not, one thing people misunderstand is I want to explain this while we're on topic. So cement is the binder, right? And the cement industry, because of the clinker process to make cement, is responsible for an estimated between 7 and 13% of global carbon emissions. Okay. So then the next parts of cement, so cement's your glue, and then you have water, stone, and sand. Those are your primary aggregates. They might put some in specialty mixes, some different admixtures. There's always some other little stuff, but those are your main ingredients. So what we do is we reduce the need for the stone. You can remove the stone entirely, or you can move a portion of a stone, depending on what you want your output to be.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, we can massively lighten the weight, but also reduce the logistics and transit costs, because your sawdust is 13 pounds per cubic foot.
Mm-hmm.
So in a ton of sawdust, there's like 157 cubic feet
Mm-hmm.
of sawdust.
Yeah.
In a ton of stone, there's about 15 cubic feet, because it's a little over 100 pounds per
Yeah.
cubic foot. So you can feed in a yard of concrete, there's a little over 27 cubic feet, sorry. And you can eat up a lot of that 27 cubic feet instead of with stone, with sawdust. Well, when 1 ton of stone weighs 2,000 pounds, yields 15 cubic feet and costs $30, and 1 ton of sawdust weighs 2,000 pounds and yields 150 some cubic feet
Yeah.
and costs $30.
Yeah.
And then the mining costs, and I'm speaking environmentally, you're moving big diesel heavy equipment to mine that stuff. You're running explosives at the mine. Then it's got to be broken up into smaller format and crushed. It's got to run through multiple cycles. Then it's got to be screened to determine what size rating it is. We can do all this in one step. Right off the sawdust line, as it falls off the blade, I can pull it out, throw it into my machine, punch it through an extruder, and you have a usable aggregate ready for shipping.
Right.
It's a ton of carbon footprint just in the logistics we're talking about, not to mention cost reductions. So I think we're getting close. I think that market's becoming more friendly to the idea of alternative products. I don't know whether it's out of desire, out of force, out of feeling the latter, but they're becoming more friendly. Yeah, they're getting a little more interested. And I get their position, right? You're running at 1.5% to 3% profit margins. You're the second largest consumed good globally, beyond only behind water.
Right.
And so you're running really low margins. If anything messes up in your game, you go from making money to losing money very quickly. And so I understand at this point their oppositional nature towards change, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's so basic and fundamental, and they've done it for decades and decades, right? To put a change in that, to force a change in that is really difficult.
I mean, when I tell them you don't need steel rebar in a lot of these applications now, especially smaller applications, they're like, what? Well, no, all the cellulose networks together. Its tensile and flexural strengths are off the charts. There's no need for you to put a bunch of steel in there.
That's mind-boggling.
Well, and steel, the other issue with steel is it rusts. It's part of the shelf life issue, because concrete is porous, right? And what do porous things do? They absorb and they release. Well, as it absorbs and releases, those rebar pieces in there get exposed to moisture, starts causing rust. Over time, that fails. Doesn't really have that issue with cellulose. Doesn't have that issue with cellulose. So there's a lot of advantages. Plus, I love making it. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to work with it.
Well, David and I are with you in the same boat. So we want you to succeed and get out there and make it happen.
We'll get there. So. Timing is everything, and I really feel things have shifted. We're getting close. The right partners not far. A lot of that has to do with me, guys. I had no idea what I was starting before I started this. I didn't know I didn't know what pounds per cubic foot was. I knew what a yard of concrete was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
Yeah. And so I just, if I wasn't making mixes, I was in the books.
Yeah. Well, I remember the earlier days when you were trying to convey to me what the invention is, and I would get tons of videos and, just inundated with information. And as a patent attorney, I appreciate that, actually, because I can never have too much information, because I want to know all about it so that I can describe it adequately in the patent application. So
And boy, did you ever.
I tried.
I mean, we made it through a lot of examinations.
Yes,
A
we
couple of
sure
them were MIT level doctorates.
Yeah,
I mean, we had some stiff examiners in that game.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you got it. You got it.
Oh.
Not me. You.
Yeah,
You.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
Well, we are at time, so we appreciate you coming out here from Lake Charles and be in our studios and share with us your story, because I think it's worth being told, you know, and hopefully it'll inspire other entrepreneurs, and maybe they'll come and seek help from David and me.
if they are wise, they will call Fulton Jones.
Thank you.
And ask for any of the people in the firm that've been.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we will wrap up. Please subscribe and tell everyone about our podcast. Thank you.